Pacers crushed by the Celtics, their 7th loss in a row right here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. This time, the defense, holy smokes, the second and third quarters were terrible. The Pacers gave up 140. What on earth is going on? How can they correct these mistakes? We'll talk about it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, the Pacers have lost 7 in a row. The Boston Celtics come in here to Gainbridge Fieldhouse and wipe the floor with them. 140 points for the Celtics, 47 in the second quarter. The Pacers defense, terrible for the middle two quarters of this game. Some signs of life on offense. Finally, they've needed that. Micah Potter is on the team. There was a lot of stuff that happened in this game that I want to talk about, but the story of it is obviously that defense, and we'll cover all of it today as the Pacers head on a 2-game road trip, losers of 7 in a row. If they lose again, that'll be their second 8-game losing streak this season. Yikes. Tough one today for the Pacers after 2 days off. They come in, they find some offensive gas, and early in this game, it looked like, they're back. Their energy's back after Siakam was unhappy rightly after the last game, right? The Pacers, insane early offense in this game. They had 26 points in the first 6 minutes. The Pacers made their first 6 threes. They're 4 for 8 from 2, though, and that's where I kind of paused. I even have this in my notes. Similar to the last time the Pacers played the Celtics, they started 8 for 9 from deep, but they were not hitting their twos, and it made me feel like, okay, if they can't get in the paint, how consistent is their offense really going to be? And their offense didn't fall off a ton, but Neemias Queta was everywhere early. The paint was not easy to get into. Andrew Nembhard had a couple ugly turnovers. The Celtics bench came in, and all of a sudden it felt like the last Celtics game, or at least the second half of it, where the game got out of control and flipped very quickly for the Pacers. They were up 15 points in the first quarter of this game. They looked awesome, and it's what the Pacers needed after what they talked about after last game. Some spirit, some fight, some pop, some wow, and they had it. They were up 28-13 after 7 minutes in this game. And from that point on, they lost the game by over 30 points. So the Celtics just kicked their butts for the final 40 or so minutes of action, and it completely fell apart on the defensive end. There's no secret to it, and it's kind of one of those weird games to talk about defensively where there was a lot that went horribly wrong, and we will talk about those things. But there also are a lot of signs that the Celtics just were red hot, deservedly. This is not a knock on the Celtics in any way, with their jump shooting in this game. How often does a team lose by 18 and give up 140 points, but only give up 38 points in the paint? The Celtics got outscored in the paint by the Pacers in this game, but they were getting to spots and hitting shots basically for the entire game. It really started late in the first quarter, but the second quarter is where the stats started to pop up, where the defense just changed everything in a poor way for the Pacers. The second quarter stats for this game: the Boston Celtics went 16 for 25. 16 makes in one quarter is crazy. They made 6 threes and 9 free throws with 0 turnovers. They could not be stopped. Jaylen Brown was obviously very good, as he was the first time these two teams met. He went 4 for 6 on his way to 10 points in one quarter. He had 2 assists. Derek White made 2 threes and 2 foul shots, plus a 2 on his way to 10 points in the quarter. Anthony Simons hit a jumper from deep. Sam Hauser, we'll get to him later, hit a jumper from deep. Baylor Shireman hit a 3 and had 5 rebounds. He was a game-changing level of force in this game. Baylor Shireman was a plus 25 in the second quarter. So all of those things are already a snowball, an avalanche, or whatever, an issue for the Pacers on defense, who had 5 turnovers themselves. And they all talked about, as a team, collectively post-game, how their offensive issues bled into their defense. And I'll talk about that in a second. But the real second quarter sin was they could not slow down Peyton Pritchard at all. Peyton Pritchard, 9 minutes of play, scores 14 points and has 4 rebounds in the second quarter. And he made 1 3. He made 5 2-point shots. He got wherever he wanted on the floor. So the Celtics in this 47-point quarter, by the way, 47, the most the Pacers have allowed in one quarter all season. 44 was their previous most, which happened in the second quarter in Utah and the first quarter against New Orleans a week ago. So twice in a week, they've given up 44-plus points in a quarter. I asked Andrew Nembhard about that postgame because that's a concerning trend, right? The rest of the game, and this is always like the most blue and gold colored glasses way of describing a basketball game. The rest of the game, the Pacers were plus 11 in the first quarter, minus 6 in the third, and plus 2 in the fourth. You're good at math. That means they won those 3 quarters combined, but they were so dreadfully bad in the second quarter, giving up 47 and only scoring 22. That was their lowest scoring offensive frame. There was some connection between those things in this game with those feedback loops. Was just an absolute mess. So that second quarter, the Celtics were 5 of 9 from above the break on threes and 1 for 3 from the corners. That's good, but not exceptionally hot, right? The Pacers started hotter than that. Where they destroyed the Pacers tonight was in the mid-range. 6 for 9 on non-restricted area paint twos and 3 for 3 on long twos in the game, and they kept that going in the third quarter. Third quarter, Celtics 2 for 2 in the paint but non-restricted area, 3 for 5 on long twos. They also went 6 for 8 on above the break threes in that quarter and continued the mid-range mastery all night. For the game, the Celtics were 10 for 17 on mid-range paint twos and 8 for 12 on long twos. In some ways, you live with those shots. In some ways, if they're making that volume of them, you don't. The Celtics made 27 twos and only finished with 38 points in the paint, right? You can do the math there too. So they did a lot of jump shooting from 2 and making them. That is not to say the Pacers were like so thrilled to be giving up those shots. These are studs who can make them. Jaylen Brown can make that shot over and over and over again. Peyton Pritchard can make that shot over and over and over again. And they did. Derek White made 3 twos, right? They got Luka Garza was a beast. Like, guys got loose for shots they can make. This is not to say that's a good thing for the Pacers to be giving up mid-range jumpers to the Celtics. But against a team that's usually a good shooting team, it was like really weird to see how the Celtics kind of changed their approach and how it led to such a dominant quarter for them where the Pacers just could not stop them at all. I mean, it was just terrible in every way. Every Pacers-Celtics game feels like it's on the extreme. And in that quarter, the Pacers' defense was extremely bad. And the effort just wanes when that happens. I want to find the exact time of this clip. But at one point in the second quarter, J. Huff blocks a Peyton Pritchard 3. Great job, J. Huff. That's hard to do. J. Huff, his perimeter defense is certainly his biggest weakness as a defensive player, but he got out there on a switch. Teams have been trying to target him a lot more recently in situations like that, and he got it. He got the block. And instead of the Pacers benefiting from this and getting a rebound or being able to turn this into points, the ball bounced in the lane. It bounced in the middle of the court. No Pacers were able to get it, and the Celtics recovered it and immediately scored. And it's like, how does that even happen? So that was the most, again, allowed by the Pacers in any quarter this season, with guys just absolutely everybody cutting them up, right? And that is a defensive problem. It was not that much better in the third quarter. It was 36 scored for the Celtics that quarter. The Pacers scored 30, though, and kept the game close and competitive, and that was the difference. And that was what was the biggest change in the second quarter is what everybody talked about post-game was the offense bleeding into the defense, because I talked earlier about the Pacers offense humming and them getting up 15 points. The second quarter starts, and lo and behold, we've seen this a million times. The lineup on the floor for the Pacers was, I believe, Micah Potter, who, if you haven't heard of him, it's because he got signed today. We'll talk about him, or yesterday. Micah Potter, Pascal Siakam, Johnny Furphy, Jarris Walker, TJ McConnell. Furphy can kind of shoot. Micah Potter, for a big man, can shoot, but certainly will not be guarded out there. Siakam is threatening in more other ways. McConnell certainly cannot shoot, and Jarris Walker has been a three-point shooter, but not this season. That's not a lot of spacing at all. Teams are totally going to be willing to go zone against that group, and that changed the game, right? Right away, the game flipped, and the Pacers couldn't score. Sam Hauser for 3, Derek White for 3, Anthony Simons for 3. It's a 2-point game, 90 seconds into the quarter after the Pacers were up 11 going into it. Jarris Walker answered with a 3, but the Celtics just kept it going with stops, right? Siakam misses, Furphy misses, McConnell gets the foul line, which is very rare for him this season. Nembhard turnover, Mathurin miss, another Mathurin miss. I mean, and Mathurin had a long 2 that he made, a 21-footer, and then a floater that was kind of in traffic. He can make that floater, to be clear, and then a late shot clock 3. I didn't realize the 3 was late shot clock, but at the moment I'm like, are these the shots they want? And in retrospect, they were probably better than I thought in the moment, but their whole second quarter of offense was just a mess, right? They couldn't break through the zone. And so that, I think, played just as much, not just as much, but that I think also played a big factor in their poor defense, as the Celtics were just getting out and running a lot off of misses. The Pacers went 6 for 19 in that quarter, 2 for 11 from deep, and 5 turnovers. So they're just giving the Celtics chances to hit the open floor and get easier shots. For the game, 5 of their 14 turnovers were in that quarter, and every other offensive quarter for the Pacers was way better. 39 in the first quarter, 30 in the third, 31 in the fourth, right? The Pacers averaged over 30 points a quarter. That's very good given how poor their offense has been of late, but they just completely fell off a cliff in that second quarter, and it really bled into their defense. And I think that's why a lot of players felt like post-game offense was problematic. I don't think their offense was spectacular or anything today, but it was way, way, way better. They moved well. They got action to action. And then as soon as that stopped, whether that was because of the zone, whether that was because of an unfamiliar bench group, whether that was bad vibes because the Celtics went on a run, whatever the reason was, it threw off the entire groove of the Pacers, and they could never get it back on defense. They found some offensive pop, but the Celtics kept scoring enough in the third quarter that the game was never close. Again, even with an attempt to get the starters back on the floor for a final push, I don't even think it got within 15 in the second half. I believe as close as it got was, well, after the Celtics got it over 15, but it was double digits the entire second half. It was never close. Credit the Celtics, they shot the crap out of the ball. The 136th time in NBA history, a team has made 23s and taken less than 40 in the same game. I thought that number would be less, is why I looked it up. So congrats, you get to hear that now. But that was just some shocking stuff defensively for 2 quarters, and it cost them a game. And it led to loss number 7 in a row for a team that offense had been the issue. And I'd been talking about offense a lot. They figured some stuff out on offense and couldn't guard at all. Micah Potter is on the Pacers now. A lot of other stuff went kind of decent for the Pacers in this game, and some other stuff went terribly. Why did they sign Micah Potter? And so much more to get to from the notebook from Pacers Celtics coming up here on Locked On Pacers. Before we get to any of that, I want to talk to you guys about 2 awesome groups of people. First up is Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. Many people feel like they know the game, but they never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now they can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade at every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant, and a swap firm. I also have to talk to you guys about DoorDash, who's been in your bag all season long because the season is heating up in the NBA, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season much more fun because every player is their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now, or if those late night interviews hit and you realize you want chips at midnight, great, DoorDash has you there. Or show up prepared. Bring a phone charger, snacks, chips, cups, whatever to the party to make sure your friend who always stays at 2% has what they need, and you do too. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, dinner, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, of course, Locked On Celtics, John Corrales. We'll talk about the other side of this game as the Boston Celtics run through the Pacers for the second time in a week. That bench group sub that they keep doing keeps just destroying the Pacers. Luka Garza, a problem again. Sam Hauser, a problem again. Hugo Gonzalez, much less of a problem than he was last time. But still, that has been a theme from these games. There's a new center on the Pacers. I predicted a center move if you've been listening to the last couple of days of podcasts, and there it is. It is Micah Potter joining the Pacers on a standard contract. We'll get to the mechanics in a second. So zooming out, the Micah Potter, the summary of who this person is that is now in the Pacers is he's not like a huge center. He's probably like 6'9", 6'10", but he can shoot it. He can space, right? He's shot about 40% from 3 on a bunch of attempts in the G League. In the NBA, he's at about 35% on reasonable attempts. He hasn't been like the most powerful shooter or like a high volume guy, but he can take and make them. And he's a bit mobile, and that is, of course, very valuable as a player archetype. So that would be the appeal, is that they needed a second shooting big. He hit a 3 in this game. It was his first game with the Pacers. We'll talk about what he actually did in a second. He already has made more threes than Wiseman and Jackson and Bradley this season, and a couple other guys, right? Him making a 3 is a big deal. So here's where I'll start with this, right? They needed a center, clearly. They needed a center already, clearly. They brought in James Wiseman after Tony Bradley got hurt, and then Isaiah Jackson got hurt after that. So let's talk about this. They did not bring back James Wiseman right now. And I thought that would make logical sense. In fact, when they signed James Wiseman, I said, if you need an emergency center, a guy who knows your system and was already on your team, makes good sense. So why not just bring back Wiseman again? Well, one, if you listened to 2 podcasts ago, maybe last one, I can't remember, the Christmas schedule has been crazy. I said, if they're going to bring in another center, if it's not Wiseman, it needs to be somebody who brings totally different skills. And I'm not saying that these guys are like comparable players or they do the exact same things, but in general, the range and archetype of the Jackson, Bradley, Wiseman trio is more around the basket. Potter is different. He can shoot it a little more. He's not as good of a defender as some of those guys, but it's a different type of center. And even that just gives you a look at that type of player, more chances to do so than when Huff exclusively is on the floor, who continues to struggle from deep. So the different skill set is the appeal of a different player. However, I mean, look, I don't know that I have an opinion on who is better between Micah Potter and James Wiseman, but Wiseman has a lot of advantages of knowing the system and clearly having the belief of the staff. So still, why would they not do that, right? They like James Wiseman. They keep bringing him back, but they didn't do it this time. Why? I was curious about that. Well, the rules is the reason. I don't want to get too into the weeds on the mechanics of this because it's very complicated, but if you'll recall, Gabe McLaughlin signs a 10-day hardship contract on December 16th. And then when they're in New Orleans on the 20th, 21st, I should remember that date before I keep rambling, on the 20th, they decide, we need a center. Tony Bradley has fractured his thumb. So they bring in James Wiseman on a hardship contract. And what they did when they did that is Wiseman replaced McLaughlin in that hardship contract slot. That slot was granted for 10 days. So James Wiseman, listen to this, this is also going to sound confusing, signed a 10-day contract on December 20th, but the 10-day contract, because of when the Pacers were approved for hardship, could only last until December 25th. So Wiseman was not available to play in games or appear in games for the Pacers after Christmas. But he actually signed a 10-day contract. So he's technically under contract, air quotes, with the Pacers until the 30th, but can't actually be under contract. This all sounds very confusing, I know, because his hardship contract had expired because he replaced Gabe McLaughlin's. So the Pacers were not allowed to sign him to another contract and aren't until December 31st. Thus, they need someone else, and Micah Potter is their else person that they're bringing in. So they could still evaluate Potter for this game that he just played, plus the Houston and Miami games. And if they think he's a good fit, great, keep him for a little longer because, remember, contracts aren't guaranteed until January 7th, and Micah Potter is on a non-guaranteed contract, as expected. And if they don't like Potter or they don't think he's filling the need that they have, go back to James Wiseman, who they clearly like and have turned too many times. So for those of you who said, why not James Wiseman? Because they could not do so. They literally could not do so. That would be a real complaint if Potter continues to play poorly and he stays on the team instead of Wiseman past like New Year's, basically, let's say. But that's why they chose Potter over Wiseman. Maybe specifically is that they legally could not bring back James Wiseman. But also I think that, and I said this before the signing, so this is not just me making this up because of what they did, bringing in a center with different skills to what you have had from your reserves does make a ton of logical sense. To me, Potter played in this game in the rotation. 17 and a half minutes, granted the last 6 of those coming in garbage time, but that's 11 real minutes. 2 for 2 from the field. He did splash in a 3. He made 4 free throws, 9 points and 1 rebound and a block. The Luka Garza, I believe, was the guy he blocked. So we'll see what he can continue to do, but a fine enough start, right? He didn't look lost or out of place. He made a 3, but we'll see. His defense will probably be of much scrutiny or eyeballs during this. If he can't guard at all, I mean, he's going to have to shoot very well to keep up with that. But that is why they did that and why the Pacers have a new center. And we'll see. So I think this is basically constant evaluation. The next 2 games, I think Potter will be on the team. But from then on, it's, do they want Wiseman? Do they want nobody? Like, is Jackson back by then? Because contracts become guaranteed about a week after that, and they need to figure out what can happen there. Okay, let's talk about a lot more stuff that happened in this game. One thing that I thought was a disaster for the Pacers, particularly on defense, as we run through some shorter things for the notebook. In the early third quarter, the Pacers committed 4 fouls very quickly, and then a 5th one right after, not like a little bit after that. That's fine. You get in the bonus in the NBA. That does happen. Every single foul was a non-shooting foul, and that is just terrible, right? The game was a 10-point game with 8 minutes to go, so the Pacers are kind of surging. That's as close as they got it in the second half, but the fouls just start piling up. 2-on-1 possession between Andrew Nembhard and Quentin Jackson. Then the very next trip, Jay Huff gets one, and then the very next trip, Ben Mathurin gets one, and then immediately after that, Jay Huff gets one. They went from 0 fouls committed to 4 in 47 seconds. That's a disaster, right? And then so the quarter goes on for just a little bit longer, and then the 5th foul comes fighting for a rebound, I believe, with Jay Huff not that much longer into the quarter. And so all of a sudden, the Celtics are now in the bonus the rest of the quarter, and they took a good amount of free throws in that period. They took 8 in that, and a lot of those came from non-shooting fouls, right? That hurts. That's a very painful. I might have just read the wrong stat. They might have taken more than 8. But that hurts, right? Those fouls stack up. They disrupt the game flow. The offense was truly fine in that quarter, but that was just another part of the defense just being not there, not where it needs to be, just a touch slow and committing too many fouls. So that just can't happen. The defense being bad in this game, by the way, the last note on that is really interesting because, of late, as the team's been, down on how they've been playing, which they should be, a lot of the fallback, rightly, I think, has been, well, at least our defense is most of the time, pretty solid. It's not good. It's slightly below average, but, it's been better than it was last year. And given the talent available, you live with the defense you're getting as the Pacers. That's what makes these games so painful, is, they're capable of way more than this. And it's basically their only thing to fall back on. They're well out of the bottom tier of defenses in the NBA to me. They're within percentage points of being an 18th again. But then they have games like this, and it's man, that really makes their team fall apart. They cannot score enough to get over this. Okay, Pascal Siakam, the frustrated man. I mean, he was clearly frustrated in the third quarter of this game. He committed a foul. The whistle was a tiny bit late. It was a foul, but he looked like he was about to launch the ball into the crowd, and he stopped himself, and then he put it on the ground and started kicking it around with his feet, and one ref called for the ball, and Alex Golden told me he gave it to a different ref, and that's why he got a delay of game. It was so odd and clear that he was frustrated in that moment. And then I posted this screenshot on social media, but when he's on the floor, the Celtics are just not afraid of anyone else, right? They're putting all of their focus on Pascal Siakam and saying, no, pass it. You do anything else. We don't care. And so this specific team has really slowed him down. He goes 4 for 13 for 11 points. He did have 6 rebounds, 2 steals. And it's not like he's useless. He's a really good player. But when he's seeing that kind of attention and is that frustrated, it's just a recipe for a tougher night for him. They've got to find ways to get him open or get him with space or just get him in actions that can work. More 2-man game stuff with Mathurin, I think, would be something the Pacers should explore with him. One more bad thing, and then a couple actually good things that happened in this game for the Pacers. Baylor Shireman had a play where Johnny Furphy was driving at him, and they kind of bumped, and then they bump again, and then Baylor Shireman flies back, and he gets fouled. Baylor Shireman is good. I quite like Baylor Shireman. I watched him play for the Maine Celtics in the G League here last year. He was just cooking the Mad Ants, right? And he was great in this game despite low stats. Look, man, if you can get Johnny Furphy to knock you down that easily without him lowering his shoulder that much, either you're weak or you're flopping just a wee bit. Just a wee bit. That play made me laugh enough that it went in my notes. Okay, some good stuff that happened in this game. Quentin Jackson started again. I still think that is, until Shepard or Nesmith are back, the best alignment for the Pacers. Quentin Jackson +3 in his 16 minutes. Foul trouble kept him off the floor. He had 4 in this game, but 6 points for him again. He just adds some pop. He dunked or laid it up. He missed, actually, a shot at the rim early in the game that he was very frustrated about. But then he laid it out, another one up later off a steal in transition, and he had a dunk later in the game where, man, he just pops off the ground. It's like he has springs in his shoes. He's super fast. He's super shifty. Just a dynamic player. And I think that makes good sense to keep having that player as the 5th starter for a team that struggled with offense for a while. They didn't in this game. I think that is the right decision that the Pacers are making. McConnell went to the foul line in this game. And I know that just sounds like a nothing to say, but Dustin Dopirak turns to me and says, wow, TJ McConnell's at the line. That's so rare this season. I thought, why did it? TJ McConnell gets to the foul line. In past seasons, he's taken about a free throw per game, and that's not a lot, but, okay, he draws fouls. This year, he's at 0.2 free throw attempts per game. He entered this game with 3 free throw attempts total in 19 games. Yikes. That's a nice way to hurt your efficiency, which it hasn't that much. His true shooting is still quite high. He's making the shots he's taking, but that is one sign potentially of his, change in burst. He's still very crafty, is that he can't quite get to the foul line as much as he used to, but he made both free throws. He got there today. That'd be huge. A lot of bench notes because the bench played a lot in the second half of this game. The full bench came in down 19, and that group was playing pretty well. They were making, Jarris Walker made 2 threes. Ethan Thompson made a 3 outside of Sam Hauser just destroying them with triple after triple. That group actually looked kind of competent together. You're not going to get 7 for 14 from deep for Ethan Thompson and Jarris Walker every night. I thought those two played largely okay in this game, though, and I thought that was an important stretch from the bench. And another reason, if Ethan Thompson can contribute with that bench group to keep the rotation how it is. For the last 6:42 of this game, the Pacers went full reserves. Cam Jones on the floor for his longest stretch by far. He made both of his shots and had 2 assists. Like I said on the Christmas episode, I think just a few real minutes for him would be very revealing for the Pacers. He was hitting shots. He keeps his head up. He keeps the ball moving. That's all very good. That's also the stretch where Micah Potter hit his three that vaulted him above some of the other centers. And Johnny Furphy came alive late with a dunk, a three, some rim pressure. He continues to have an interesting stretch of play, 9 points, 2 boards in his 18 minutes in this game. I think that is every note I have from this one. Oh, the Pacers, after starting 6 for 6 from deep, went 12 of 38 the rest of the way. That really, really hurt them in this game. I liked this adjustment, if you want to call it that, from the Pacers after Luka Garza just destroyed them on the glass last time. He finished with 4 rebounds in this game. A lot of his minutes were matched with Tony Bradley. I thought Tony Bradley was a fun button of like, oh, Luka Garza, you were not doing that again, man. They just sent Tony Bradley in there to get 2 boards and play 7 minutes and make 2 shots. Tony Bradley with his thumb injury, still providing value to the Pacers. Also, Ben Mathurin. In this game, I barely talked about him besides saying that in a moment, I thought 3 of his shots were a little forced, but in retrospect, they were not as much as I thought. 13 points on 13 shots, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. This is the second straight time in Pacers Celtics that I walk away going, Mathurin was good at the little stuff. His defense is rebounding, just like the first game against Boston were good. He's had some tidy putbacks against the Celtics group. So he's getting better at some of the smaller things that were focused from this season, but some of the bigger stuff has continued to evade him of late. Okay, that is Pacers Celtics. They play again tomorrow in Miami. We'll be talking about that one, of course, right after the game ends. The late December Miami trip is usually the Tyrese Haliburton explosion game. Unfortunately, that obviously will not be happening this season. Thank you guys so much for listening today from the arena for the last time probably of the year. You can find me on social media at Tony Tyrese and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Thank you all so much for listening. Back tomorrow, talking more about this team. We'll see you very soon.